Welcome to Making More, the podcast where high-performing business owners and visionary executives share how they're building more than just bottom lines. I'm your host, Billy Fisher, an engineering leader turned business and executive coach, and I'm guided by a personal mission to help leaders create clarity, build forward momentum, and make more of what matters most. Today, I'm joined by Jim Foster, founder and president of Global-Pak. Jim has spent over 25 years building this values-based packaging company, grounded in the philosophy of treating people the way you'd like to be treated. He's the kind of leader who knows he's succeeding when a simple thank you note from a customer isn't for something extraordinary, it's just for doing the job right. Today's episode is all about growing a business with integrity, leading with change, and making a lasting impact. Jim, welcome to Making More.
Billy, I appreciate the opportunity to talk with you today and to meet and talk about Global-Pak a little bit and a little bit about the company that we've built, and hopefully it is something that you get some value, or your listeners get some value out of.
Absolutely. We're big on value here, and just all the ways that we can provide that to our audience and the people that find us. So first of all, just tell us about Global-Pak. Is it Cleveland, Ohio, or somewhere nearby?
We're the Northeast Ohio region is
Okay.
pretty accurate. I'd say we're south of Youngstown a little bit. We're actually
Oh,
very
nice.
rural.
Okay.
So we're interesting location, and I'll get into that in a brief second. But we started the company. A business partner and myself started the company in 1998 with just two of us. We built the company up over the years. Unfortunately, he got diagnosed with a brain tumor in 2018. It was Kevin Channel was his name. And then I bought the company out in October 2018, and then he passed away in September of 2019. So up until that point, it was the two of us sort of running the show and building the company up. And then at that point, I wasn't quite ready still not quite ready. I still enjoy it too much to get out of the business. So I bought it out from him, and we've been running well since then, grown quite a bit, added some more employees. We're up to about 46 current employees. So it's from 2 to 46 is a big change. I said it was really fun at 5 employees because you didn't have to manage anybody. And then you have to start managing people, and your company changes after you start adding so many employees. So that's an interesting dynamic. During COVID, we actually we've always imported some bags. Years ago, we tried to make some bags ourselves. We're very slow with it. During COVID, we had some supply chain disruptions and got back into the bag making business. Our main product line is FIBCs, or bulk bags, and then we do some specialty waistline or some specialty packaging for bulk powders. But the majority of our business is FIBCs, or bulk bags. That probably represents about 75% of our business. And we've got to the point where, like I said, we reintroduced the manufacturing. It's a pricey option for us, but it is something that gives us an opportunity for our customers to get out of jams, to do prototypes and design work ahead of time to refine either something they would want to import, or we have a core that seem to want to support American manufacturing. And we love those customers that are loyal to us and give us the repeat orders. But it was developed more as a service to the customer than a profit-making center.
Okay. Very good. And you have a very special why as an organization. I think, can you tell me a little bit about the prioritizing people aspect of your company?
Well, that was something that we feel is really important as a company. We have our core values, which our core values are: we treat the employees right, we treat the customers right, we treat the vendors right, and then we care for the community. And then the fifth is the profits sort of take care of themselves if we put that in that order. We want to take care of the employees and make them feel valued and make them feel like that they have a voice within the company, which that's very important to us. And then the customer, we just are always have been focused on the customer. And that's actually a hard one for me. And I wave back and forth whether the customer should be first or the employee should be first.
I have
But I
done the
know
same. Yeah.
if we take care of the employees, they're more willing to take care of the customers and do the extras for the customer. And that's the philosophy behind that. Every once in a while, you get a decision that comes up, and you're like, man, I should rank the customer first because I really want to do this for the employee, but really need this done for the customer. And sometimes you get into those little dilemmas. And then we run into, like, with our vendors, we put them up there because we know it's got to be a win-win situation. And that's really the type of customers that we look at as well, that we want to do business with. If we do business with the customer, or if we're the customer of our vendor, that we're always pushing them on and squeezing every last dime out of them, and they can't be profitable, they're not going to be there for the long term. So we're looking for those relationships, both vendors and customer base, that we can work together towards a common goal that's fair for everybody, and hopefully we exceed the levels of service that you need as a customer of ours, and then hopefully as a customer of our vendors, that we support them in a manner that when we do need something for a customer, that there's no hesitation. They just take care of it because they know that we're a good partner for them, and we're not going to try to take advantage of them.
Hmm. That's so good to hold all of those kind of up in such high regards. I had the same kind of internal debate when I was a leader at Toyota, because Toyota was absolutely a customer first type company. They would put that on the wall, for goodness sakes. But for me, my always leadership style was about taking care of my people, knowing that if I take care of my people, they're going to take care of the customer naturally. And so I kind of always played it that way, and maybe that's why I left Toyota. But it just seems like the people that you have under your care as a leader, they're the ones that obviously are kind of the first line of defense for everything else that you're hoping to accomplish. So if you take care of them, the rest seems to follow.
And that's typically, I think, any of our employees, if we ask them to do anything extra for the customer, and hopefully they just realize it and do it on their own. That's the goal, is that they just take care of the customer first, and then we'll deal with what we need to after on, whether it's administration side or whether it's doing some sort of back channels to get things right with the vendor to make a product or delivery right, that we just make it right with the customer and then deal with it. Sort of the attitude that we want our employees to have. And that's really our end goal. And that, if it does do that, then it's sort of one of those self-fulfilling um, prophecies, or where the profits just take care of themselves at the end. You don't really have to worry about those on a daily basis if you're doing all the little things right up until that point.
Yeah. The growth that you have seen, you mentioned you started out just as a co-founder, and then there were 5 employees. But now I think it's getting close to 50 employees, isn't it?
Yeah, we're gonna broach 50 pretty quickly. I think we're at 46 right as of today.
Okay.
Um, it's we've done slow, steady growth. So we've grown. I just pulled our sales history out because we just had our biggest month ever in August. We broke 6 million in
Congratulations.
sales. So
Wow.
that was a nice accomplishment, a nice win, something that we're trying, celebrating as a company. And I pulled out our sales by history, and it was like, I think our first year, we started in May, I think it was like $247,000 was our first year in May of '98. And then the next year we broke like a million, and then we went, to 2 million. But I think I went through the numbers, and I think in our first 6 years, we didn't sell as much as we did last year if you combined our first 6 years of business. And it's like,
Oh.
so it's nice to see that growth, but we've sort of been slow and steady. We've had our little bit of bumps during the 2008 financial crisis. We took a step backwards in 2009, took a slight step backwards with COVID, but the following year, because I'm a firm believer that we do a lot of things right, then we take a big bounce back in return, and our sales get back on track and back on a projected course for us. But the slow, steady growth has kept us from having to bring in investors, kept us from being really beholden to the bank. We have a great relationship with our bank and our bankers, and I would mention them that like PNC is who we use for that, and they're a bigger bank, but they really don't treat us like a big bank. So it's the relationship that we have is very nice, but we're not beholden to them. They just whatever we need, they're willing to help with, because we've had that slow, steady growth and not gotten in trouble with being too aggressive and getting backwards, and and having debt that we have to finance. That it frees us up to do a lot of positive things for our customers, for our buildings, for our for the community, because of the working relationship with that, and that slow, steady growth where we're not having to answer to every dime that we spend.
And as you all are a privately held company, it sounds like in your industry that there are a lot of foreign owned and venture capital backed consolidators that are trying to kind of just commoditize that market. Is that fair to say?
That's something that is very interesting in the last few years. We've seen some consolidation from a few foreign-owned companies that have tried to grab some market share by buying some groups, and we've seen a lot of venture capital recently coming into the industry. And it was all family owned pretty much before. You could go to
Mm.
one of the association meetings and you could talk to this owner of the company, and that family owns it, and the if they sent a different representative, it was like they had a direct chain to the owner or the family. And now when you go, you do see more and more of the venture capital companies that are coming in and trying to consolidate in the industry. It's one, I'm sure that somebody's going to be successful at it eventually, but it's historic, at least in the brief history. When I say brief, we've seen a couple failures over the last 5 to 10 years, and some
Mm.
not so successful stories. But as more and more money keeps coming into it, I'm sure someone's going to get it right, and be able to consolidate down. But what we've seen in the marketplace, when some of that's happened before, people like to be multi-sourced as a supplier. And so if you years ago, Greif bought like 3 or 4 companies. Well, because they bought 3 or 4 big companies, they were like 1, 2, and 3 suppliers at some of the big customers. And we immediately got some calls saying that they needed to diversify their base since it consolidated down. So it opened some doors for us. And I think that's going to continue to open doors if you see that consolidation. I don't know that there's a comfort level with most big customers anyways, wanting to put all their eggs in one basket and wanting to do business with one conglomerate when they can have a backup supply and some different um, origins for their products, so they're not dependent all on one country or one low geographic area or one plant. So you have a little bit of diversification on your supply chain.
And I think beyond just being able to multi-source and step in and say, yes, I'm somebody that's unique, that's not it's not a merger. You have a competitive advantage too because you're providing custom bulk packaging solutions that some of the larger firms maybe can't provide, but then also that the smaller ones just don't want to provide.
Well, I know like when we added the sewing, that was a big step for us to add a service or something that other people don't want to do or don't want to provide. I mean, it's not it's not easy. You learn a lot about manufacturing once you set it up. You coming from Toyota in the background there, I'm sure you have a great understanding of the manufacturing process. And I've visited so many plants over the years. You think you have a really good concept of it until you start doing it yourself, and then I really understand this problem. I really understand this bottleneck, because if, if we're having this bottleneck, the big plant's having this bottleneck at the same level, or if we mess something up in the production or the assembly process and there's an error, then you're all of a sudden a little more forgiving of the vendor that had that problem on a large scale manufacturing, because you're saying, man, even on a little scale, it's easier to say you're going to do it and you're going to do all these things and you understand it, but it's harder to implement it and nail that down and to do it with any speed, especially in our industry.
Yeah, speed and efficiency is the name of the game in manufacturing. And so if you don't have that, then there is work to be done for sure.
Yeah,
All right.
it's that in itself creates some challenges back there. We do a few other projects that we've figured out how to automate, and the sewing is just one of those challenges that I think that's going to be the future for manufacturing, or the sewing of the bags, is for people to figure out how to automate or to simplify the design so it just needs a little bit less labor in the process. But it's that's our next big project to try to tackle. But that'll be an industry changer if we could figure that one out. But that's one that is sort of the holy grail of the bulk bag manufacturing, figuring out how to automate it.
Okay. A good innovation challenge there.
Yeah.
Jim, what about operational strengths that you think you've got compared to some of your competitors?
I think the biggest thing is we're quick to be able to make decisions and react, because we're such a lean company. And sometimes I would say it's can create its challenges for me as I'm trying to delegate, and you're trying to hand off more and more steps of the process to other people, so that I'm looking that I want to have. I love the job, but I don't want to work forever. So I'm trying to work on that exit plan, that strategy to get there. But the operational advantage that I think we have is we're quick to make decisions and quick to make to act on items. It's like if a sales rep calls up and has an opportunity and says, hey, I want to do this. It's like, we look at what the good business reason is for doing it. And if it makes sense, I mean, we can make a decision in the matter of minutes instead of having to get it approved or ran through a board. And so we're quick to respond. If there is, because our products are handmade and sewn, and there's not a lot of automation in it, sometimes that you'll get a problem where somebody's machine wasn't set up right and there's a issue with the product. And I think for us, it's always, let's just make it right, take care of it, whatever we need to do. But that decision can be made instantly. A lot of times we're ready to fix a problem and the customer's not. And we're like, here are your options. Let's do this. 1, 2, 3. Let's make it right, take it care of. And there's like, no, we need to, have some more time to run it through our board or get something approved. And it's like, that's one of the things that I think is a big operational advantage of a smaller company that's a little bit flat in their hierarchy, that you can just make decisions quick.
Yeah, that nimbleness is such an advantage. You've got distribution hubs as well. I think maybe 3 locations in total, maybe 4.
Our main location, we have their main location in Lisbon, Ohio, and then we have approximately 100,000 square feet of space at that location. Then we have another 16,000 in East Liverpool that I sort of count as the same area, just because geographically it's 20 minutes away. It's very close. Okay. And then we have a distribution hub out of Savannah that we use, that is for warehousing for product in the south. It's close to the port, so we'll bring some product in there. And then we're set up and we have some product out in Modesto, California. It's a public warehouse that we'll use out there. Eventually, I'd probably like to own another space, but I think it just is one of those, that slow, steady growth, making sure that we're doing things conservatively, making sure that we can actually support it long term. We don't like to lay off employees or have turnover from that is a direct cause of jumping too soon. So when we commit to bringing people on board, we look at it as a long-term commitment. So we want to really make sure before we staff people that are our employees at the other locations that they're permanent jobs that will be around for hopefully forever. So.
Yeah. Like you said, it's about legacy for you and kind of looking at that exit strategy, the retirement strategy, being able to transition leadership. I think in your case, you're very fortunate in that way, aren't you? You've got a daughter that is maybe on board with.
I have one daughter that is definitely interested in trying to do to continue the legacy of Global-Pak on. So we're in the process of trying to work with her and expose her to different levels of decision making and try to just bring her into take her a little bit out of her comfort zone. Her comfort zone was sort of that marketing background, and she was, she was doing the marketing for Global-Pak and doing really well at it. But now we're trying to evolve her into getting involved a little bit more with sales. You might be familiar with it from, I think it's from the DOS system or the EOS system.
EOS, yes.
Where I'm trying to use her as like an integrator within the company.
Okay.
So I'm trying to bring her into some of the one-on-one meetings that I have with the key people. If I need something done, I'm trying to give that to her to do to sort of develop her skills and delegations manners and getting her well-versed in working with all the different departments of the company and trying to just loop her into some general decision making so she understands how some of the decisions are made, which she's always says it that I just make decisions and she doesn't understand how I do them. And I said, I don't understand how I do them. I just do them from gut at this point. I just have a feel. And I think that they think that they think I very seldom make wrong decisions, but I said, I make wrong decisions all the time. You just have to make new decisions to fix the wrong decisions when you find out something doesn't work. But I think it's something that is going to be really good for the company long term. It's going to be the most opportunity for Global-Pak to stay a family-owned business and stay as a benefit within the community. I mean, Lisbon, Ohio, I don't know if you're familiar with it. I mean, it's a small town. We're borderline the northern border of Appalachia. So, I mean, there's some economic challenges in the area, which I think it's a great place to do business. I think it's very undersold for doing business, especially as a distribution hub. Our location to major cities and major highways and stuff is really an advantage that I think a lot of people miss out on or don't look at. But it is a 46 jobs, 46 families. It's pretty important to the community when you think about it. And most of our jobs, I think, are well-paying jobs with benefits. So it's something that's really, on a small scale, it's very important to the area, the community.
It's a value to the community, unquestionable. That what you are doing with Global-Pak it matters. And I think, like you said, for an area where I'm familiar with Eastern Kentucky, and so areas where there is poverty, there is economic concern, you're standing there as a beacon. And no, let's make these individuals capable, well-trained, whether it's manufacturing or distribution, whatever it may be, but just obviously well-paying jobs, and they can support their family with that.
And that's one of those that we have very little turnover as a company, and I think that's because we try to take care of the employees and we try to treat them fair, and we do value them as community members as well. But on the occasions that we have had somebody come and say, if they're going on to do something better for themselves and they're better for their family, I'm
Mm,
jacked over that. If we gave them that
yeah.
base that they could move on and do something better, I mean, that's a big win. We've had a couple people go on and start their own businesses and leave the company. And it's like, still friends with them today, wish them the greatest success in the world. And I think it's funny because some of the conversations have come back. Yeah, it's a lot harder to own your own business than I thought it was when you were doing it. And it's like, yeah, once you jump into it, it's a little bit of a different game. But at the same time, we've had some other success stories that aren't even part of Global-Pak, where we've got somebody to either believe in themselves or to chase their dream to do something that has in turn also contributed back to the community and helped out. So I think all those things are very important in a big benefit for small business in the country. And, I think it's important that we don't lose that moving forward.
Yep. I think it was a fellow coach, because Focal Point so much focuses on small businesses and helping small business owners. And so they held up the line that small business is the backbone of America, the backbone of our economy. And you can say what you want about large corporations and billionaires and all that, but truly it's the small businesses that makes the needle move. So thank you for being one of the good ones.
We appreciate just the opportunity to be able to be part of it every day. I said that's something that I really don't feel like I go to work every day. I just enjoy it. People will say about the hours that you put in or the time. And yes, there was a lot of hours, a lot of time, maybe too much time and hours when the kids were smaller. You think, oh, you look back and say, wow, I
Oh,
maybe did a little too much there or put a little bit too much time in. But at the same time, it was never really work for me. It was something that I just enjoyed doing it on a daily basis. And I still do. I love to go into the office and talk to people and, kick about ideas out for customers or solve problems for customers. And that's all the fun part of it.
take me back a little bit, because you had a partner starting this business, and you knew this partner for 20 years before they grew ill and unfortunately succumbed to the illness. But tell me a little bit about your partner and what you learned from him.
Oh, that one, it was funny. I admired him for his sales skills and tried to get him to, when I played around with some stuff out of the garage and the basement and stuff. One point I had a 2-car garage full of bags. So there's some interesting startup stories there, but I tried to get him from the get-go to go in with me because I admired his sales abilities. He was the Kevin was the type of person that could he'd come in and meet you on a sales call, and he'd be talking to you for a few minutes, and then he would ask you if you were ready to place an order. And he had this interesting knack. If you were ready, he was going to hand you the paper, but if you weren't ready, he would pass it off and turn it into a joke. And it was like one of those just natural sales abilities that I was like really admired and working with him. And then he showed up at my door one day, called up and said he was coming over, and knocks at my door and said, hey, I was thinking about that when you asked me about coming into business. I'm ready if you're interested. And then we formed Global-Pak in May '98. And I think the one thing that I would say that I don't think we could have had more similar work ethic as a background. I don't think any of us ever felt like that we outworked the other one. That none of us, neither one of us felt like we were the other one was shorting us on hours, if that makes sense. It's like
you were
'cause
both
I think
pulling your
that's a
weight.
big deal when you go in to start a company up in the partnership. If one feels like they're pulling all the weight and the other one doesn't, very competitive from a sales perspective. I mean, we were, I think that was part of what the company, if Kevin sold more than me, then I would go out and try to sell more than Kevin, and, you know, then would start complimenting each other, but like very competitive from that perspective, trying to outdo the other one in sales or make that extra sales call to try to get, you know, the extra new customer. So you could, you know, we had all these little friendly bet, you know, boards and tracking metrics that we had on. So work ethic was huge from Kevin. And then I think he had a directness about dealing with stuff, dealing with that I really miss. I sometimes struggle. I never want to hurt somebody's feelings. I don't want, you know, afraid that, you know, I'm going to couch the you know, an issue, you know, or a problem so that I don't hurt your feelings. And I'm a little sometimes too concerned with that, where he had a little more of a temper, more of a directness that he, you know,
Okay.
a vein would pop in the middle of his forehead if you really upset him. But you knew that he wasn't going to be happy if that vein popped out. But I would say a directness and a fairness. But I think you start off as business. You started off as business partners and friends, but not close friends. But by the end of it, you spend so much time with your coworkers and stuff. There is as much or as close to family as you can possibly get because of the time that you spend investing with them. Most people don't realize they spend more time with their coworkers than they do their family during the course of the week. It's
Yep.
like you're going to work and you're going to spend a minimum of 40 hours. And if you're going to do business trips, you're going to spend 60, 70 hours with somebody in a week. Then you're going to come home. If you come home and see your wife for a few hours and then you go to sleep, or you catch them on the
Yep.
weekend and stuff, it probably doesn't even approach the time that you've spent with your coworkers and the bonds that you develop. So very special relationship that we had developed through the years. Finally get
And
to the
now,
point where I'm surprised I'm not emotional about it. Usually I get a little
yeah,
emotional when I talk about Kevin, but it's like, I think thinking of some of the positive things that he brought to the table over the years and stuff, and what he brought to the company were huge and are positive reflections there.
absolutely. And a legacy he's left as well. Tell me about, you mentioned during our intro call that you have some experience with strategic coaching and how that's impacted kind of your philosophy over the years.
Yeah, that's interesting. And obviously, Bill, you're involved in coaching yourself, and that's something that is not something that I probably would have been as receptive to as a younger business person. Maybe just not so much that I wouldn't be receptive to it, but I just said I'm too busy. I didn't have the time. Um, I had picked up a book of the big one that I really liked was Who Not How, and I read that book and I was like, I'm doing all this work and I'm not delegating enough to people, and it's like I think it's part of those things that you start a company up and you just think you have to do everything, and you do
Yep,
everything. So
it
at one
is.
point or other, I've done every job within the company. And because of that, I think you just think you shouldn't delegate anything, that I could do it or I'll do it myself, where it's just as quick for me to do it than it is to explain it to somebody else and have them do
Right.
it. And I decided to join Strategic Coach after I read that book. And I think that and not just plugging them, but people like Billy or, you know, other people that do the coaching, I think if you're willing to listen as a business owner and go with an open mind, that I think just talking with other business owners in general is a really positive impact on the business. One of one of the first meetings we were into, and they talked about entrepreneurs being like 5% of the population, and that when you think about it, that's very few people. And then you have a whole room full of people that are all entrepreneurs. Then all of a sudden, things that you thought were just problems isolated to you, everybody has the same problem. Most of the people that are entrepreneurs don't delegate well. They don't hand off projects well. They manage their own calendars and say yes to too much stuff and get too booked on different projects because they think, I don't know why. You just say, yeah, I can do it, or I'll fit it in. And I think you almost think it's a badge of honor to be that busy, and then realize that to take the time and self-reflect on your business, how you manage your business and your style, I think are a huge benefit. And people like yourself and or strategic coach, I just feel it's been great from the self-reflection standpoint. I've hired probably 5 people because of that, because of the who, not how, saying, hey, I don't need to do this anymore. I'm going to have somebody else do this. I need somebody to do this better than I can because they can focus their time on it. And it's not something that I have to watch, or if I'm not passionate about it, why should I watch it at this point in my career? It's like, you do it better than me. You can handle it. So those are some big wins from it. Restricting what I accept on my calendar and what I'll do, I think has been a big help for me. One of the things they promote, and love to talk to you more about it, is what you do or how you handle stuff like that, Billy, is like an impact filter is like trying to filter down what I'm a quick start on the Colby test. So I just like to jump into stuff.
Okay.
And
yeah,
you give me something, I don't think it through always, but I'll jump into it and say we're doing it, or we'll jump right into it. And it's like, so trying to complement yourself with some workers that maybe will balance you out and not jump into everything. And that impact filter in particular is for me to write my thoughts out and think them through before I before I give them to employees just to run with. So I don't give them some busy work that I think about after they did all the legwork on it from a conversation that I've had and threw an idea out in the meeting and they ran with it. Right. And then I come back and say, yeah, that was a dumb idea. We're not doing that. And they wasted all their time and they look crushed over it because they've invested that time. I was like, don't do anything until I give you one of these impact filters that I've thought it through. And then I'm trying to use that on the same time is I'm encouraging employees, if they want to do something, do an impact filter. Tell me what the best case scenario is. What's the worst case scenario? How is this positively going to affect me? And what are the steps that need to just do a 1 page on it and send it to me. And I had some employees that wanted to go to a seminar in New York. And they did this impact filter and they told me all the pros. And I was like, I was just so thrilled they gave me the impact filter on. I was going to say yes regardless, but I was like, this is perfect. This is what instead of just saying, can I go to this and not giving me a reason,
right.
Explain all the whys. What's the pros to it? What can I do? And little things like that I think have helped me a lot from going to coaching. And I think just reflecting on your business and the opportunity and some of the things that I'm sure you do with your coaching business is I think are big benefits for people if they're willing to listen. But I have seen some people that have come to the coaching class and they you sign up for a year and you go to 4 sessions and you have some homework to do in between, and a couple people said just didn't work for me. And I was like, well, did you hire an assistant? Did you do some of the things that they asked? Did you try to do any? No, I'm too busy. And it's like, that's the person that won't sharpen the saw that's cutting on the tree. And it's saying, I'm not getting anywhere because I can't stop because I can't take the time to sharpen the saw, but you're not going to get anywhere if you don't take that time. And it's like, if you're not going to try anything that is suggested, or at least think it through, you're not going to get anything out of the coaching. But I think there has to be that open-mindedness to at least listen and consider.
You're right. I'm reminded, I think it was maybe an Abraham Lincoln quote, but that if I'm given 6 hours to cut down a tree, I'm going to spend 4 of them sharpening the axe. But you just have to, you really have to make sure that what you're getting as a coaching client is moving the needle, whether it's in accountability or time management or just effective delegation, whatever that you're trying to improve. You have to take action outside of the actual coaching sessions to see some growth in those areas. And so that is a big piece of it, finding coaching clients that really want to be coached, that want to grow, that want to see themselves improve, is kind of the biggest part of it. Because if you find somebody that owns a business but doesn't want any of that, then they're not going to make a good coaching client until they're ready.
Yeah, I would think for you especially that's probably going to be one of the hardest things when you're dealing with clients and talking to clients, is finding somebody that's open from that perspective to at least listen and have those conversations.
You're exactly right. It can be a big challenge for us.
When just because of my experience with coaching, I'm going to ask the question of you is, like, when you do coaching sessions, you're doing individual sessions, you're not doing like group sessions, correct?
Both, actually. Yeah, both individuals and groups.
So do you do like follow-up meetings and things in between to help them with the accountability? Because that's one of the things I've seen with, I think, like for me, I'm always been self-accountable, if I decide I'm going to do something.
Right.
Or if I commit to it, like coaching, if I'm going to lay out an investment of my time and money to go to coaching, I'm going to at least listen to it and have some follow up, and I'm going to do my due diligence in between. And if you give me homework, I'm going to show up. Yeah. But how do you deal with that from your side, from your perspective?
So I don't nag, I don't pester. Like, I'm not typically reaching out to see if the homework assignment is complete. But I do have coaches or clients that reach out to me, right? That just want a little feedback as they're working through something and want to make sure they're on the right track with it. So it's kind of like if they sign up for a class or a workshop or a series, they're kind of hiring me as a coach on retainer. Like, I give them my cell phone. They're always willing to reach out, and I'm always available to listen to what they've got, almost like a counselor or an advisor in that way. And so, yeah, I haven't had too big of an issue so far with people not completing the homework assignments.
And like I said, it was just one of those that when you talked about the coaching and stuff and you asked me what I got out of it, and I think of all the positive that I got out of it, but I try to go to each meeting. I've only been to 5 so far, but I go to each class, and my goal is to take one thing back that I can try out of the class, that one thing that I can implement or try, no matter what direction that is. Like the last class was not really a business coaching idea, but was more of a marketing idea. And it was like, but I'm going to run with that and get a sheet done. I'm going to have a meeting with the sales team, and I'm going to try to run with that. And if I get one new customer out of it, it was a win. It was a positive experience. Where if we teach the sales reps a different way to sell or to approach the customers, that it becomes a little more receptive, that was a win to me. Wasn't my goal to come out of there with a marketing tool when I went to the class, but it was my goal to take something of value from that class when I left.
That's the crux of any training or course that you get to take as a business person, as someone in a career. It's can you take it from the classroom setting back to your professional setting and actually use it? Can you implement it? Can you make it a part of your daily habits, your daily process? And I think it's the people that are really intentional about doing that, like yourself, that really get the most out of any training.
Mm-hmm.
Jim, we have reached the point in time where I get to ask you my favorite question, the title question of the podcast. Sir, at this point in your career and life, what are you most focused on making more of?
Making more of. I'm actually in a unique spot where I've been very blessed through the career and how I've managed stuff. So I am trying to make more free time for myself. So
Absolutely.
that's my goal and my plan, and to make sure that the company can run on its own and transition. So that's where I'm at with it. I think that's the thing that is the most important to me, to be able to free myself up to be able to work when and how I want,
Yep.
and that to make sure the company's going to transition into the future and can stay family owned. So that's those are my immediate goals, and I firmly believe I'll be successful at that. But if I've not had anything in life, there's only a couple things that don't work out, or I don't even know what to work out, but everything works out. So I'm confident that whatever path we choose here with Global-Pak is going to be successful moving forward. So
Awesome. Making more tea times, maybe. How about that?
yeah, that would be good. My golf game could definitely use that this year.
Well, Jim, it's been such a pleasure having you on. I thank you so much. Where can people find out more about Global-Pak and what you're doing there?
If they would want to go to our website at www.global-pak.com, that would probably be the easiest way to find out more about us. That gives them a good overview, and they can figure out how to contact anybody within the company that they would be interested in talking to from there.
Okay, that's perfect. Jim, thank you so much again for your time. It's been a great pleasure having you on. I look forward to watching you and seeing your legacy get passed on, and Global-Pak just continue to serve in that community there in Northeast Ohio. Thank you so much for your time.
Appreciate it very much, Billy. Take care.
Thanks for listening to Making More. If today's conversation sparked something in you, let's connect. You can find me on LinkedIn and Threads at Coach Fisher FPT, or by visiting billyfisher.focalpointcoaching.com to learn more about how I help leaders create clarity, build momentum, and make more of what matters. This recording is copyrighted by Engineered Consulting Incorporated. Until next time, take care.